Good afternoon. Thank you for participating in this webinar. My name is Swaminathan. I'm the CEO and founder of IRIS Business Services, which is a global XBRL major. We have put together this seminar for two reasons today. One, to share with all Polish companies, the results of a finding of a study that we did of the quality of filings by various European companies. The second reason why we call the seminar today is to announce the launch of our India Cares initiative, which is meant for the small caps in Poland. Poland, it's very special to me personally. My father used to be in the steel industry, and many, many years ago, he used to travel extensively across Eastern Europe. And the country that he liked the most, that he fell in love with, was actually Poland. So he would come back with photographs from Warsaw and several other parts of Poland, very beautiful places. He didn't like the cold, it's a very hot country here in India. He also had difficulty in finding vegetarian food. But I think his stories about Poland left an indelible mark on me. And I've always been wanting to go to Poland, which has not happened so far, which I hope will happen very soon. I'm also grateful to Poland for another reason. I come from a city called Calcutta in the eastern part of India, which is a football crazy city. But even though we are football crazy, the quality of Indian football is not very high. And I'm actually grateful to Poland for taking in a dozen kids from India for training in Poland late last year. I'm hoping that with the help of countries like Poland helping us with our football, we can actually create a much better team than what we've ever had before. I'm grateful to the people who actually accepted our invitation to participate in the seminar and also speak at the seminar. I'm grateful to the Indian Embassy. I'm grateful to Mr. S.K. Ray, who's First Secretary Commerce. He's also head of the Chancery in Warsaw. Without his support, I don't think this event would have actually happened. I think his participation here is a signal to Poland also about the importance that we attach to Poland, that India attaches to Poland. We've had a series of high-level visits to Poland in recent times, of course, before COVID actually happened. And Poland's an extremely important country for us in the world. In the world. I'm also grateful to gentlemen from the Association of Stock Exchange Issuers, Mr. Miroslav Kakniowski. I'm also grateful to Mr. Lukas Dajnovic. I hope I'm pronouncing the names right. If I make a mistake, please forgive me. I'm trying my level best to get the names right. I did do some training in earlier. And I'm also particularly grateful to Mr. Pavel Walsiewski, each of whom will offer their comments as we go along with the program today. We are a global XBRL solution provider, and we currently offer our solutions in about 36 countries around the world. We work with regulators across the world, central banks, capital market regulators, business registries. We work with the Big Four. We work with all kinds of accounting firms. We have about 2,000 enterprise clients. There are about 5 million filings that happen through us every year. There are about 1.5 million entities that actually file using our software. So we have three segments in our business. One is helping regulators collect data. One is helping enterprises create data for submission. And one is on the data and the analytics part of the business, where we help both regulators and the regulated use the data better. We've been in the XBRL space for as long as XBRL has been around. We cut our teeth in America and then have moved to other parts of the world, including India. And we're also members of the XBRL consortium in different parts of the world, which is indicative of what we actually do, which gives you a sense of the kind of work that we do in terms of framing the XBRL policy around the world. This is now the countries around the world where we are located, where we have clients. We are there. Singapore is one of the most advanced countries where our solution is running. So as I keep saying, we are there from Singapore to Argentina, spanning the entire breadth of the world. and we're covering all continents. I think it will be difficult to get to the Antarctic, but I think by virtue of having quite a customer in the Scandinavian countries, we're as close to Arctic as possibly can. Some of the clients that we actually work with, so we work with some of the global multinationals, and I think we're grateful to them for the faith that they've reposed in us. Some of you may have actually attended an event that happened about a few months ago, organized by the Warsaw Stock Exchange, where we made a presentation of our solutions, which was well received. And since then, we've also been in touch with several Polish companies. The ESEF mandate, there is a bit of uncertainty about when it will go live, and some of it has actually been left to the individual countries now, is being left in individual countries if the European Parliament passes the law. It requires a movement away from the world of documents to the world of data. So the software that we offer helps you create data from the documents that you've been submitting so far. The world of PDF will be over, and the world of data is actually coming in, and that's what it's all about. And I'm hoping that we will be able to serve many Polish companies, including the small caps, with our solution. Carbon is what our solution is called. It pretty much does what any other product does in the world and more. And by virtue of having been implemented in so many different countries around the world, it's a robust cloud-based solution. The values of carbon we can go into over time. When Anu takes you through the research report, you will see how some of the properties of carbon are so important to create an error-free filing, including the ability to collaborate, including the ability to do something on the last minute, and so on and so forth. It's also priced very attractively compared to other products. But for me, the most important thing is not to sell the product. That's not why I'm here today. I'm here today because as a country, we have a special bonding with Poland, which is why we are in the process of creating something called an India Cares package. It's basically, you can either take our tool for free, or you can take our services for free, or you can take a combination of the both for free. There are absolutely no conditions attached to it. It's available to every small cap in Poland, which we define as a company with a market cap less than 100 million euro. It's our way of helping companies in Poland in the times of this pandemic. We're also a small company. We are a small cap listed on the Bombay Stock Exchange, and we know the difficulty that we are going through. You know, our Prime Minister has enunciated this concept which talks about the world being one family. If the world is one family, I think it's important that we take care of each other. It's in that spirit that we are offering this package to Polish companies, to small companies in Poland. And the idea being that if we can help you in times of a crisis, it creates a foundation for a long-lasting partnership between India and Poland, and also strengthens the hands of our diplomats working in Poland and strengthens the hands of the Polish diplomats working in India by creating a bondage between the countries, which ultimately will be through people-to-people contact and company-to-company contact. And so whether you just want to take the product and do it on your own, or whether you want to ship it to us and we do the conversion for you, in both cases, it's completely free for the first year. And it's not our idea to use it to rip you off in the next year. So if you want to know what pricing we will charge in subsequent years, we're very happy to do that. You know, and this will be free for the first year of the filing. And the idea being, at the end of the day, that whether we save, 10,000 euro for you, or 20,000 euro for you, or 5,000 euro for you, a euro saved is euro earned. And that's what we've seen. All of us are going through liquidity crisis of different kinds. So I believe at the end of the day that if we can make it slightly easier for you, I think we would have done a good thing. This is the pricing for the subsequent years, which I'm not even going to get into. So why free? I've already taken you through the whole story in terms of what we want to do and why we want to do it. It's my understanding that every individual regulator will have the flexibility to make the ESEF filing either mandatory or voluntary from 1st January. So once the European Parliament looks at the whole the mandate, and the European Parliament is basically saying, I think that every country will have the freedom to enact its own law, given that the pandemic is there. But I believe that companies might want to get ready for the filing anyway, because all of us are here to stay. And I think the sooner we engage with our investors, by offering them XBRL data, the better it is for all of us and the better it's for the market as well. And I want to stop here and hand over the presentation to Anu, my colleague, who will take you through the quality report. We have just finished a study of almost 700 companies in Poland, looking at the quality of the filings. And I think the value that will come from knowing about the mistakes that the companies are making will help you ensure that you don't make the same mistakes. Because if earlier you made mistakes, it would take a while to get caught. But now with XBRL, if you make a mistake, you'll get caught immediately. Anu, over to you.
A very good afternoon, everyone. My name is Anu, and I'm the research director of the study that we have conducted at IRIS. So this new reporting format, which is called ESEF, is going to be a new journey for all the listed companies and also for the auditors and for Poland as a country. So it's a great initiative which has been rolled out by ESMA. So there are many items to be kind of taken a look at, and especially processes, etc. So in this webinar, we actually focus on why is it important to get this quality right? Why is it important for you? And what should you be taking a look at? So first of all, why is quality important? Quality is important because A, regulators take it very seriously. And secondly, investors take it very seriously. So up until now, you've been submitting annual reports in PDF formats. So even if there were mistakes, probably it could never have caught attention very easily. Probably it could have been years before somebody could have even spotted a mistake in it. But with this new reporting format, which is called inline XBRL, which is a machine readable format. So the minute you file your annual report in this new format, regulators can quickly take a look at your annual report, mistakes very easily, and they can detect any kind of irregularities and inconsistencies very, very easily. So therefore, from a regulatory perspective, this is going to be the official document that you will be submitting. And therefore, it is very, very important that you take a look at this entire ESEF compliance reporting very seriously. The second reason why you need to take this entire ESEF reporting seriously is because from an investor point of view. So investors are always, like to invest in companies which has strong overall processes and procedures, and where the numbers are kind of pretty strong. So in short, investment is a choice. So if your numbers are great and if your numbers are accurate and if your financials are performing very well, from a financial perspective, investors would definitely look up to you as a company. But if there are mistakes in your annual report, and let's say an investor spots such mistake, it becomes very, very difficult. So, and now what's going to happen is that with this entire annual report being in this inline XBRL format, investors can actually navigate through your annual report much, much easily. They can find richer data, granular data the way they want. They can also go ahead and pull out this machine readable information in financial models that they use. So a good reporting would actually lead to good investments. So therefore, from your perspective as well, I think it's very important that you take this very seriously. And the minute information is in a machine readable format, sure, you may be a company which is listed in Poland, but you may have opportunities in other countries, right? So investors from other countries could also start taking a look at your numbers. So therefore, with this reporting format, all your numbers are going to be much standardized. Of course, we understand that mistakes always may not be intentional. Some of them could be actually unintentional. Some of them could be deliberate. So some of the examples where mistakes have been due to carelessness are, for example, in this large company in the US, which is called GE. And GE actually got one of its number wrong in its 2015 annual report. So they are told that, in its annual report, they are told that they had investments of about 105 billion USD, which was invested outside of the US. But in their XBRL, they reported it as 104 million. So you can kind of imagine the impact, something which is reported in billions being reported in millions for regulatory reporting purposes. Similarly, when we took a look at Axis Bank's annual report, we also saw that there was like a mistake which was running into many, many millions. So when we contacted Axis Bank, they said that this was a typo in their mistake, which means it was not definitely intentional, but there is a mistake. Some of them are actually deliberate. For example, Enron, again, which happened about close to about 2 decades back. So this was something which was very deliberate. And the company had reporting irregularities. Their books were not kind of completely well maintained, etc. And similarly, everyone knows about Wirecard. So the German company, which had this big scam which came out a few months back. So mistakes to some extent definitely can be avoided, but if it's deliberate, that's already a different thing altogether. But the best part of this new reporting format called inline XBRL is that had this digital reporting format be there, an Enron could have definitely been avoided. A Wirecard could have definitely been avoided. And now that you're going to report this from next year onwards in this new reporting format, regulators, investors will start looking at data more closely. And if there are mistakes, it will be identified very, very easily. So in short, if you see this reporting format, which is called iXBRL, is like a camera. You have CCTV cameras almost everywhere. So XBRL is like a CCTV, or it's like a lens that actually helps in identifying any kind of mistakes. Of course, there are many benefits of XBRL, wherein you can do peer comparisons, benchmarking, etc. But these are some of the reasons why you need to take XBRL and this whole new reporting even more seriously. So in order to kind of overall, see, Europe has about 4,500 listed companies. So we thought we should do a study to see what is the quality of reporting that exists today, and what is the quality of a reporting that will it even improve if there is this new reporting which is kind of being introduced. And what is the impact on companies? Does a software has any role to play in improving the quality of filings? And there is something called as a taxonomy, which is like a list of variables issued by ESMA. So how does this whole reporting actually help companies? Is there any advantages, etc.? So what we did was we took a sample of 707 companies in Europe. This is close to about 20% of listed companies in Europe. And as a sample for each country, we went ahead and analyzed 10% of listed companies in that country. So IRIS, as Swami introduced, we have a presence in 36 countries. So we go ahead and analyze companies in the USA, we analyze companies in South Africa, we analyze companies in Europe, etc. So we definitely are monitoring the companies in Europe, and that's the reason why we have come up with this study. So in some countries like France and Germany, where the number of companies are higher, we took a higher sample size. But overall, we wanted to have a very balanced mix of small companies and big companies. And with specific to Poland, what we did was we had taken a sample of 25 Polish companies. So what did we do in the study? We went ahead and identified 25 companies in Poland and the rest of the companies from other EU countries. We downloaded the annual reports and we converted the primary financial statements of these companies, 707 companies, into this new format called inline XBRL. And then we went ahead and validated these filings. And we had two kinds of results. There were some rounding off mistakes, which we ignored. And there were some reporting mistakes, which we went on and identified and further analyzed. So this is the effort, 707 companies across 27 countries in Europe, 27 industries. You can see that we have tagged close to 95,982 items, and it took about 50 experts on our side and 10,000 man hours. And here is a quick result. So you'll be seeing that if you take a look at Poland specifically, about 16% of the companies had reporting mistakes, which seems to be a little higher. And overall, if you see the average, out of the total companies that we had sampled, 10 companies had reporting mistakes. And specifically in Poland, these are some of the companies that we went ahead and analyzed. For example, OTP Bank, Altio, MOL, Duna Housing Holding, Future Aqua. So these are some of the companies, and of course, Raba Automotive Holding PLC. So what were the mistakes that we found? We found that 74% of the companies had what is called as a totaling mistake. So totaling mistake is like 1 + 1 is supposed to be 2. If it's a rounding off error, it could be 3, but it cannot be 5. So if your totals don't match up, then that's what we call as totaling mistake. You'll be surprised to see that 75% of the companies, which is a high majority, had this mistake. This was followed by mismatch values, which is 22%. So mismatch value, what we mean is, for example, if the income statement has profit loss is 100 million, maybe the cash flow has 105 million. And then incorrect sign is 3%, which is, some numbers calculated as positive to be negative, negative to be positive, etc. And some had incorrect dates. And where were these mistakes? The highest number of mistakes were actually in the cash flow statement, followed by the equity statement, balance sheet, comprehensive income, and the income statement. From an ESOP perspective, I think when you're preparing your ESOP reporting, you may definitely want to pay close attention to the cash flow and the equity statement here. And we also wanted to see were these mistakes in big companies or were they mistakes in small companies. So usually there is a notion that the smaller companies are prone to doing a lot of mistakes. But when we saw in our study that, a bulk of mistakes was actually for overall the large companies. So you can see that close to 61% of the companies that had mistakes were actually large caps. And it was the small caps who actually did better in terms of reporting for various reasons. And moving on to the next slide, we also went to see which type of industries had most mistakes. So we saw that, the banking, insurance, and the financial services sector had the highest mistakes, followed by consumer goods, manufacturing, real estate, and others. So the overall complexity of reporting is very, very complex in terms of a banking firm, an insurance firm, and a financial services firm. So therefore, these had the highest number of mistakes. And we also went to go ahead and see, for example, in your annual report, if you're supposed to submit 5 primary financial statements in this new format, ESMA has given a dictionary of concepts called as a taxonomy. And what ESMA says very clearly is that if you're a company, you're supposed to pick the concepts as far as possible from this taxonomy. So keep the information more standardized. If there is a concept in your annual report, for which you do not find a concept in the taxonomy, then you create a custom element called extensions. So we also did an extension analysis. And here what we found out was, the banking, financial insurance, real estate, and utilities had the highest amount of extensions. And this is supposed to be only in the primary financial statements. And these numbers are actually very, very high. So one important message that we want to give to the companies is the fact that, sure, where needed, extension should be created. But as a company, you're responsible for your filing. So therefore, you may choose a vendor or a service provider. You should have the ability to go ahead and take a look at the extensions that has been created for your annual report. There are many softwares that create extensions and they say it's there somewhere in the background, it's created automatically, etc. But if you do not see your extensions, you do not approve your extensions, you're actually in a black box. And that's something which is very scary. So extensions is a very, very important piece that you may definitely want to take a look at while preparing yourself for ESOP reporting. And now I'll walk you through very, very quickly of how did we manage to find these results and how did we collect all of these results. So when we tagged these annual reports with our software Iris Carbon, we also ran a validator check. So we also have a validator that is integrated, and we ran these validations on all the 707 companies. As an example, I'd like to walk you through some of the mistakes that we found in each of the categories that I've explained. For example, the first category is a total mistake. So this is an annual report, a cash flow. So the company has reported, cash generated from financing activities as 181. But if you actually see that a correct total should be minus 18. So on the right-hand side, what you see is that when each of these number has some machine readable tag, the XBRL validator runs a check to see if your totals are correct. So in this example, it shows that the company has reported 181, but the actual total should have been a minus 18. So now you can imagine once your numbers are in this machine readable format, with a click of a button, these mistakes get identified. Moving on to the next category, which is mismatch values. In this example, which is from an income statement, profit for the year here is 10,187,228. And the same profit is reported in the same statement one more time, but it's classified as between parent and non-controlling interest. However, you would be very surprised to see that the total that is reported here should have been the same number here. But this is a published annual report. It never came to the attention of anybody, including the auditors. But when we tagged this information and we ran the validator, there was an instant check which came and told us that, duplicates, which means there can't be two different numbers for a single concept called profit loss. So therefore, in this way, two different values which was reported for one concept instantly got triggered. The third one is incorrect signs. Again, this is an example from the income statement. There is an operating profit of 27,308 and the company has some expenses. close to about 1,000 euro. Even if it was a 1,000 euro expense, the profit before tax should have been a 26,000 positive number. Unfortunately, the company has reported in minus, indicating it as a loss. So this is like a very, very terrible thing, especially from an investor point of view. You can kind of imagine that this is like a loss-making company. That is what investors would interpret seeing this annual report. But when we actually tagged all these numbers, that's when it came to light that the company has actually reported a loss. However, the correct value should have been a profit. And finally, the last category of mistake, wherein we tagged this entire financial statement, which is a cash flow, and we got another validation result, which said that, for two numbers, there is the same date. And that's when we saw that in the annual report, that the company just got their dates wrong in the annual report. They simply copy pasted the prior year date, possibly to the current year date. So once your information is in this machine readable format, now you can see that with a click of a button, these results start showing up. And therefore, we thought it's kind of very important for you to show you a glimpse of how this reporting could have an impact on you and on the investors that are tracking your company, or analysts who are tracking your company. So with these examples, what I'd like to conclude is the fact that ease of reporting, sure, for most companies, it may look that this is like a new reporting process, additional steps, etc. But I think from an overall standardization perspective, and for you to go ahead and have more investors, so this information, once it is in this machine readable format, it's going to do a lot of benefit compared to the costs. So therefore, we highly recommend that choose a software or a service that has good experience. I mean, there are softwares which are XBRL International certified that you can go ahead and take a look at. The most important thing is use a collaborative software, because you may have last minute changes. You may want to have full visibility and control. So that's very important. Choose a software where you can run the validations yourself, so that you are sure, double sure, that what you're generating from the iXBRL package and that you're submitting to the Polish regulator is error-free. And very important to be able to see all of this extensions, anchoring, the company taxonomy, etc., because only when you see, only then you'll be able to find out. So with this overall quick, summary, I'd like to end our presentation on this quality findings. If you have any questions on this quality study, or if you have any questions on our solutions and services, feel free to reach out to us. We'll be more than happy to answer. Or if you have any questions, you can also drop your question or your comment in the chat box in the webinar tool here.
Anu, thank you very much. This is Swaminathan again. Anu, I've just been told by Mr. Miroslav Katniewski that we may have made a mistake in the slide of Polish companies, that we may have the Hungarian companies instead of the Polish companies. If you could just go offline and get the list of Polish companies that we looked at, I think that will be nice, because this is a bit embarrassing. Okay. Mr. Miroslav Katniewski is the president of the management board of the Association of Stock Exchange Issuers. I'm grateful to him for pointing out the mistake. So we're just getting the slide replaced right away. It doesn't take away the fact that we looked at 707 companies and that we did a quality audit of these companies. Poland is an extremely important market in Europe after France and Germany. And I think every other country that we speak to, they aspire to do a dual listing in Poland. And I think that's an extremely important fact to be borne in mind. I would be grateful if Mr. Katniewski could actually say a few words. I'm very keen on working with your association, sir, in order to offer the free software to all the small caps in Poland as part of our offering to strengthen India's relationship with Poland. Mr. Katniewski.
I was just trying to unmute, and I think I'm successful. Well, thank you, thank you very much for this invitation, for this presentation, and for your kind offer. I think before we will engage in any further discussions, perhaps I would have a few questions that would relate to what you've just covered in the very beginning of your presentation when we were opening the meeting today. So you've indicated that there is a possibility for the first year that the companies would have the free system and free service. So the company could either use your software to convert the report into the iXBRL format itself, or could ask you to do that. And for the first year, this would be for free, which is a very generous offer. Thank you very much. Now, my question, which seems most important problem here is the merit problem with taxonomy, because in case of any company, vast majority of taxonomy would be very, very easy to do. This could be done almost automatically, and I'm quite confident that you would be capable of doing that. However, in any company, there will be 5, 10, 15, 20 such items in the report, which would be very, very difficult to tag. So the question is, how are we going to deal with this, let's say, special, important, difficult tags in the taxonomy?
Thank you for your question. Anu, you want to take the question?
Yes, sure. So the taxonomy that has been issued is an IFRS taxonomy. So the IFRS taxonomy is a very globally used taxonomy. And from our perspective, we've been using for many, many years. And overall, if you see the variation that ESMA has introduced are like just about 10, 11 concepts, which is in addition to the standard IFRS taxonomy. So the taxonomy is kind of pretty standard. Of course, for each company has to adapt and use taxonomy to the best extent it's possible and create custom elements. So that's going to be the challenge for companies to, especially since this is the first time they're going to go ahead and use this digital. And from an end company perspective, it will be a new exercise altogether. And that's the reason why we want to extend our full support, because we come with that background and experience for over 15 years. But from a taxonomy perspective, it's a globally used IFRS taxonomy, which ESMA actually adopted.
Let me add to what Anu just said. Extensions are being allowed in America, and extensions are being allowed in Europe. In America, it's a wild west. In fact, the funny thing is, while there are 18 to 20,000 elements in the standard taxonomy in America, there are almost 600,000 extensions happening in America, which I think is madness of an order which I can't even describe to you, and takes away the benefits of XBRL reporting by introducing non-standard elements. On the other hand, Europe has tried to bring in a concept of anchored extension, which basically requires you to link to an element in the standard taxonomy to whatever extent is possible. I think we have, given the experience that we have in America and many other countries where to some extent extensions are being allowed, we believe that it is a surmountable problem. In fact, Anu, if you can just pull up that slide that you had about the adequacy of the ESEF taxonomy from an extension point of view. So one of the reasons, sir, we did the study is to look at how much extension is required given the state of the ESEF taxonomy. And we found that the maximum problem happens in the case of banking. So we've actually analyzed the whole issue of extensions for all the 707 companies. Can you make it full screen, Anu? Anu, it's not readable. Thank you. So we've actually looked at the whole issue of extensions. And we also find, sir, that there is a correlation between excessive use of extensions and mistakes in the filings. We've seen that in the case of America. In Europe, no XBRL filings happened so far. So we're just looking at the past and looking at the adequacy of the taxonomy. I think your question is an excellent question. We believe that given the experience that we have in America and other countries, we've worked in countries where digital reporting is just starting, like Malaysia. Even India, we just started. By the way, I want to say one more thing which I think is very important. There is no reason to worry about the fact that there were mistakes in the past. Please do not worry about it. All that I'm saying is recognize that the moment you start filing an XBRL, catching those mistakes will become easier. Therefore, take care of it for the future. So we will handhold every company and set up the extensions, working with the company and working with the auditors of the company. And I think if ESMA decides to postpone the mandate by a year, I think it gives Polish companies an extra year to get ready for it, because the benefits on account of XBRL filing in terms of attracting capital is huge. The benefits on account of XBRL filing to cancel the negative effects of MiFID II is huge. So we, as an Indian company, and given the commitment we made to our government, we will handhold every Polish company to ensure that this happens in the best possible way. I hope I answered your question, sir.
Yes, to a large extent. And if I may still go a bit deeper, so once you start work with the company on, let's say, extensions and trying to tag appropriately all the items in the financial statements, how long do you think it would take to complete the report from the moment I file to you the PDF format, let's say, to receiving that in XBRL system format?
Okay, Anu, you want to take the question?
Yes, I'll take that question. So typically for the scope of the mandate for the first year is actually only the 5 primary financial statements. So in order to tag the 5 primary financial statements, it takes about, for us about like 2 working days. That's what we need for the 5 statements. But if it's a banking firm or an insurance firm or a real estate firm, as you can see here, their overall disclosures are much complex. So we need like an additional day, but 2 to 3 working days is what we need to tag just the 5 primary financial statements.
Also, I want to add to this by basically saying that the first year is when the time taken will be more because of the, as you said, the unique items that a company may want to report. But from subsequent years, the time taken drops dramatically and it can be automated. Anu, you can remove your screen. Anu, you can take away the presentation screen.
Thank you.
I think what we have done with many companies across Europe is to set them up with last year's numbers so that the time taken when the filing needs to happen is shortened significantly. And and you rightly hit the nail on the head, sir, when you talked about the company extensions. For company extensions, it becomes extremely important to consult with the company and get the sign-off from the CFO's office to ensure that the extensions are the way the company wants it to be. Ultimately, it's the company's filing. So the company has to be satisfied with the extension, not me as a vendor, which is why the tool that we talk about, and which is why it's extremely important, a desktop tool will not allow this kind of collaboration. A cloud-based tool can offer this kind of collaboration. Secondly, there are a few softwares where the whole extension process is a black box, which is not visible to the company. We basically believe that it's ultimately the company's problem or celebration if something goes right or something goes wrong. Therefore, extensions set up in collaboration with the company, the interaction is what takes the most amount of time. And also, we believe that XBRL being a new thing for many companies, we also conduct extensive training programs for the companies in advance. So we've been conducting training programs customized for each company that we work with. And we've been working with very large companies in Europe and across the world. We conduct extensive training programs for the CFO's office and the compliance office so that when they start working on their actual document, they are up to speed already. And when you're working with last year's document, that becomes a reference point for next year's document.
I see. Thank you.
And in spite of that, things can go wrong, as you rightly pointed out. Things can go wrong. So I think somewhere along the way, as I keep saying, it's important for us to recognize that we need to minimize the time taken and also minimize the headache to the company and the errors. I think the damage on account of getting it wrong is very high. But because of the experience that we have in so many countries, we've been able to build intelligence into the software to allow the finding of those mistakes. For example, there are so many vendors in Europe who have softwares. We deliberately went and said, we will look at 25% of Europe, 20% of European companies and do the quality review. Our intention was not to shame the company or embarrass a company, but to find out what mistakes were being made. In fact, sir, with your permission, I will send you a copy of the report. We will not mention the names of the companies where we found the mistakes, though we are sharing it with the companies privately. If XYZ company made a mistake, I'm actually calling them and saying, it does not matter whether you're a client of mine or not. These are the mistakes in your annual report last year. Please ensure you don't make the same mistakes next year. Because if you make the same mistakes next year, you will get caught. So,
thank you.
So we are working with every company and working through the association. We would love to ensure that every Polish company also benefits from it.
Thank you. The next question I would have would relate to the specificity of the Polish market, because, well, obviously you are a big global company. You've got a lot of experience with the XBRL system over many years. However, the question is whether you have an experience with the Polish mandatory reporting system called ESPI. So the system which the Polish companies have to use to file their reports. Well, the question is, simply speaking, whether the reports converted using your IT would be validated later on by the Polish mandatory system, which is going to be used for reporting?
So there are two parts to the question. One is the validation part, and one is our experience in working with the Polish system. I share a secret with you. One of the first mandates that we did in XBRL was actually working through a Polish firm called BRAG, who you may be familiar with what's his name, Mateusz and Michal, who've been working at the forefront of XBRL across Europe. And we did a mandate for converting Polish company statements into XBRL. This happened about 8 or 9 years ago. But do we have experience in using the filing system? No. As far as the validator is concerned, our validator is a global validator which can take any taxonomy in any part of the world. And that's the validator that we use to spot the mistakes. So one thing we can tell you with a reasonable amount of assurance is that if you look at the US market, we are the top in terms of quality of reporting because we have the validator that's inbuilt into the whole thing. The other thing that's important to also understand is our validator can take any business rules that you want, and you can change the business rules at any point in time. So as a consequence, we're able to generate error-free reporting, unlike most other software vendors in the world. So I can assure you about the quality, just as I can confess to you that we do not have experience in using the Polish submission system at this point in time. But I'm hoping that by working with you and Polish companies, we will gain that experience as well.
Mm-hmm. So my last question, which would relate to your opening address about this 1 year free offer, we could expect that the implementation of SF will be postponed. So in such a case, is your offer, this 1 year free offer, will also be postponed, or will it be just used for this year, for which the companies do not need SF at all, simply speaking, because it will not be mandatory? What would be your reproach here?
So there is no point in my giving you something that's of no use to you. If I give you something that's of no use to you, if you're carrying 5 bottles of water and I give you an additional bottle of water, I mean, I don't think it's of any use to you. So we want to be available to you with help when you need us. There's no point in my being available to you when you don't need us. I hope I answered your question. When you want to help someone and when you want to help someone properly, I think it's important to be 100% helpful. I think it's silly on my part, and I think it's a crime on my part to basically offer my hand of help. It's like a consultant who they say gives you an umbrella when it's not raining, but takes it away when it starts raining. I don't want to do that. I want to be helpful to Polish companies. But sir, I have a request for you. Even if the mandate gets postponed, I believe Polish companies will do well to take the 1 year to get ready for it. And the offer will still be open, not to worry about it.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. I'm so grateful to you for your comments and your questions. I now invite, we have another distinguished guest, our First Secretary of Commerce from the Indian Embassy, Mr. S.K. Ray. Mr. S.K. Ray and I share something in common. I was born, so India is a country of 29 states and several union territories. India's diversity is actually, people don't realize, it's much bigger than Europe. There are 22 national languages mentioned on our currency note. There are several thousand languages spoken across the country. It's a very diverse country. If you go from within a certain province, if you go from one province to another province, I mean, the whole food habits change, the culture changes, everything changes. I invite all of you to come and visit India. But the good news is, Mr. Ray and I share one thing in common. I was born in the same province that Mr. Ray comes from, so we share a bonding. And therefore, I keep telling him jokingly that if tomorrow I need to take a citizenship of a state within the country, I would take citizenship of the state that Mr. Ray belongs to. I must also share with you that if Mr. Ray is going to stick around in Poland for long, his state produces the best sweets in the country, and you may want him to deliver sweets to you the next time he actually comes back from India. Mr. Ray, over to you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thanks for the introduction. Let me introduce myself. I am S.K. Ray. I'm looking after commercial matters in the embassy. And in fact, I joined the embassy this year in January. And I have been joined by my colleague, Mr. Pankaj and Mr. Michael. And for me, in fact, it is a great pleasure to join you all for this webinar today. And on behalf of the Embassy of India, let me take this opportunity to convey my sincere thanks to all the participants who spared their valuable time to join for this webinar. Mr. Swaminathan has already gone into the technical aspects. He's already explained in details what this software is. So I will not like to go into those things. I would just like to give you a little brief overview of basically what is our current commercial engagements in so far as India and Poland are concerned, where we stand today. Frankly, Poland continues to be India's largest trading and investment partner in Central and Eastern Europe. And over a period of a decade from 2009 to 2019, we have seen a growth of about 150% growth in the bilateral trade, which now stands close to 3 billion USD. Trade balance, it is mostly lies in favor of India, and the volume of our export to import, the ratio, it will be almost 3 times, 2.9 times. And in so far as the products for the trade is concerned, in fact, the textile constitutes the largest segment. But what we see in the post-COVID scenario, actually one of the sector that we've identified which holds big potential, that is the IT and IT service. That is one of the sectors, besides other sectors like pharmaceutical, chemicals, etc. Frankly speaking, the IT companies, the Indian IT companies, like the India's investment in Poland, as per our estimate, it stands close to $3 billion. And the Indian IT companies are heading the Indian investment. And about currently around 11 IT companies, all major IT companies, they are active in Poland. And they are operating also their European operations from here. And they have employed almost 10,000 professionals. So this is insofar as the Indian IT sector is concerned, the presence in Poland is concerned. This is just a brief overview. And we see, as I mentioned, that in the post-COVID situation and also after the Brexit development, we hope that the more and more IT companies are going to expand their operations in Poland. We feel so. So at this juncture, actually at this point of time, we feel this is a very big, very great initiative by IRIS about their product, this software. And I don't have much knowledge about this technical aspects of this software, but as per my information, it actually India, in fact, is one of the early adopters of XBRL, and Bombay Stock Exchange, it adopted XBRL, the process way back in 2008. And in fact, all the listed companies are India now using the XBRL format. And in fact, the banks, the financial institutions, the cooperative banks, they all are using it. And in fact, the Reserve Bank of India has also adopted the XBRL format. And IRIS, which is basically a regulatory technology company, and they are a global provider of software products. Mr. Swaminathan has already explained in his presentation. They have presence in almost 36 countries, and they are doing it in Singapore, Malaysia, Argentina, South America, a number of countries. So in his inaugural remarks, in his opening remarks, Mr. Swaminathan highlighted that basically, like, they are guided by the basic motto, which has been highlighted, the Indian Prime Minister, that Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, that the world is one family, and we are for each other, and they have been guided by this concept, and that is the reason we are meeting today to discuss about the India Cares initiative. In fact, we feel that in the post-COVID situation, and most of the businesses, and particularly the MSMEs, they will face difficult, I mean, to some extent, they will be facing difficulty. They will struggle to emerge from this impact of the current economic contraction. At this juncture, we feel that the smallest, the tiniest bit of support, it matters, it really matters. And so this gesture of the IRIS to provide the software free of cost for a period of 1 year, it is really a great gesture. And I would like to congratulate the company and Mr. Swaminathan for this great initiative. And as I understand, actually, as per the European Securities Markets Authority, as per the ESMA regulations, now all companies listed on the stock exchange in EU member countries, they are now mandated to file their annual statements in the XBRL format. And IRIS, they are already a software as a leader in this field. And they've already in many countries, in many companies in Europe, like Belgium, Spain, etc., they're already using this product, and which has been, the quality has been found to be very highest quality. And it is also, it has gained reputation, its acceptability, both in the field and among the regulators. So with this, I would like to once again, we convey our deep appreciation, first of all, to Mr. Swaminathan and to the IRIS company for this gesture, for this initiative, to extend, to whatever extent possible, support to the Polish companies and to provide this software free of cost for a period of 1 year. And we feel that the Polish companies will find this product very useful, and they will take advantage of this. With this, I will end, and I would like to once again convey my sincere thanks to all the participants for taking their valuable time to join for today's webinar. Thank you.
Mr. Ray, thank you very much for your comments. I'm extremely grateful to you for your participation. As a company, we believe at the end of the day that in the world of the private sector, a government and envoys like you need to be empowered by people like us, so that ultimately, if you want the world to be one family, I mean, we have to act like responsible members of the family. We are global citizens by virtue of being in 36 countries. And I think our objective is to strengthen your hands so that countries like India and Poland can trade more, can trade better, and in a mutually beneficial way, so that we live in a world where we recognize our independence. And the principle that our Prime Minister has come up with of an Atmanirbhar Bharat, a self-reliant India, strengthens each of us in ways that was unimaginable earlier. So I'm thank you for your comments. And before I get to the next speaker, I want to thank Mr. Miroslav Katniewski. He pointed out that the companies that we had were Hungarian companies. Anu has corrected the slide. I hope we don't make such mistakes when it comes to the actual filing. I think we won't. Anu, can you just put up the slide with Polish companies, please?
Yes, sure. 1 second.
And we will share the presentation with all of you after the session's over, so that you're aware of all the Polish companies that are there. We've also reached out to the companies individually. And I'm not going to mention, as I mentioned to you, which companies had mistakes in them, because our intention is not to embarrass the companies. Our intention is to be constructive and working with the companies to ensure that they can create error-free filings in the future. So once again, I want to thank Mr. Katniewski for pointing out the mistake. I'm extremely embarrassed, but as I said, I'm happy confronting the embarrassment by pointing out that we made a mistake and then correcting it immediately. So this is the interactive process that can actually happen when it comes to the filings themselves. Anu, thank you. It's now my privilege to call upon Mr. Lukas Dajnovic, who's an expert on trade with South Asia in the Ministry of Economic Development of the Republic of Poland. Over to you, sir. Thank you very much. I think I can't hear you. Your voice is not coming through. Yes, sir. I still can't hear you.
So I think we have some technical problems. So perhaps before Łukasz will solve that, I would have one question which I also posted on chat. So thank you very much for correcting the list of the companies. Now definitely they are Polish companies. Now my question was whether the data you were referring to in your presentation, they were referring to Polish companies, these which are on the list, or to Hungarian companies which were on the previous list? Because
so we were referring to the 707 companies. As far as the subset is concerned, Anu, can you just verify that the companies that we had were Hungarian or Polish?
The one which you've presented right now are Polish companies.
No, I know, but the mistakes that we pointed out, are they of Hungarian or Polish?
No, Polish companies.
Thank you.
But in any case, we will send you the presentation and you will get a good sense of it right away. We will email it to you. Łukasz? It doesn't say that you're on mute, but your audio is just not coming through. Maybe we can come back to you once we... Shall I invite the next speaker and we come back to you a little later, sir? Is that okay? Thank you very much. So my privilege now to invite Mr. Paweł Waliszewski, who basically represents the... Good question. Wielkopolski Investors and Exporters Assistance Center. May I request you to make your comments, Mr. Paweł?
Hello, good morning.
Hi. Loud and clear.
Okay. It's okay? It's okay?
Yes.
Okay, so welcome from Poznań. Nice to hear you.
Can we see your face as well? So can we see your face as well? Because I do know that Polish men are very handsome.
Yeah, just give me 1 second, please. And 1, 2, just some start video. So, okay.
Thank you.
Is that okay?
Thank you.
Right now. Okay, that's perfect. So welcome once again. Thank you very much for a very interesting presentation. A little bit technical for us. We are just advisors for Polish companies and foreign investors. But what I do, what I would like to suggest, this kind of solution, I think, should be absolutely promoted through not only our region but in Poland. And I already during this webinar. I just wrote to Indian Embassy in Warsaw with some proposal to promote your idea, and if any Polish company will be interested in your services and your products, we'll absolutely contact them directly with us, with you, and with Indian Embassy in Warsaw. That's what I think. This is the best what we can do to promote the connections between Indian business and Polish business. It will be convenient to you, sir.
In fact, it's music to my ears, but let me also share with you, sir, that this is a huge opportunity. It can create a couple of thousand jobs in Poland. Poland can be the center for the entire solution for all of Europe. There are almost 4,000 companies in Europe who are currently covered by this mandate. The median spend per company could be anything from, so companies are spending anything from 5,000 euro to 40,000 euro on the solution. So if you take 10,000 euro as an average and 4,000 companies, that's a 40 million euro opportunity every year. And given the strategic location of Poland, right in the heart of Europe, and given the strategic acceptance of Poland as a country that's forward-looking and at the cutting edge of many things happening across Europe, I believe Poland is very well suited to capture a significant market share. So we would love to work with Polish companies to ensure that Poland captures leadership in this space across Europe. And I'm also aware that while many Indian companies are setting up call centers and others in Poland, what we are doing, it's slightly at the higher end. And at the higher end, if we can actually create a couple of thousand job opportunities in Poland, it will be an honor and a privilege. Because what is also happening, sir, it's not only about compliance. It's about compliance, it's about investor relations, it's about banking compliance, it's about tax compliance. This opportunity is only getting bigger and bigger and bigger. the RegTech opportunity globally runs into several $100 trillion. And I think with the first step having been taken by ESMA, earlier IOPA took a step as well. Very soon you will see many Eurostat taking the step. Once these things take off, I think Poland can be the hub of this entire movement in Europe. And it will be an honor and a privilege, and I'm sure it's music to Mr. Ray's ears as well, that an Indian company and Polish companies can actually work together to create leadership for Polish companies. So thank you for the suggestion, sir.
Yeah, thank you very much. You are already welcome to the Wielkopolska region, and as we stay in touch with the embassy, I think we will be able to provide you all information necessary for cooperation.
The only condition I have is I don't want to have the same problem that my father had when he visited Poland 40 years ago, when he could not get vegetarian food, because I'm still a vegetarian.
I invite you to my house. We'll prepare a special Indian food for you.
No, I will have Polish food. I don't want Indian food. I want Polish vegetarian food.
No problem. We have also Polish vegetarian food.
Lovely. That's wonderful.
Thank you.
I'll now go to Mr. Lukasz Danowicz. Is your thing working, sir? We still can't hear you. I think we still have a sound problem on your side.
Okay, I'm terribly sorry. I can't fix it. Sorry.
I heard that. Your voice came through.
Okay.
Yes. You said, okay. The moment you said you can't fix it, it got fixed.
Yeah, I could. Yeah. Okay. Thank you very much, and thank you for your presentation. And one point I would just like to raise very briefly, and actually it refers to what you just said, because it would be much easier to attract the EU companies if you had some kind of presence on the ground in Poland, not only sales team, but a little bit of software development as well, to show the customers that some of your code is actually written in Poland.
I agree.
And one of the things our countries have in common is well-developed IT industries. So Poland has an established R&D infrastructure, competitive salaries in comparison to Western Europe, for sure, and EU funds for innovation. So we could be a stepping stone to the EU market, just like for Infosys, Tata Consultancy, CSS, HCL, or Wipro. I think I mentioned the major ones from India. They are already present in Poland. So this is what I would like to say, and best of luck in Poland. And if you need anything at all, you might want to contact me in the future. And see you. Thank you.
I will. Thank you very much. In fact, if you want to see a stupid person, you're looking at me. I made a mistake about 4 years ago by setting up shop in Italy for all the wrong reasons. We had a very big client in Italy, and therefore we actually set up a subsidiary in Italy. We are now looking at the possibility of setting up an operation in a country other than Italy. And I think it will be an honor and a privilege to see whether we can actually do that in Poland, because I'm aware from my interaction with the Polish people, with people like BRAG, the local company I talked about, that there are some extraordinary talent in Poland. I still think that you are slightly more expensive than a few other countries, but that's okay. But I think talent comes at a price. I'm also aware that people like Mr. Ray in the Indian Embassy are your biggest supporters and are constantly trying to encourage Indian companies to do more and more with Polish companies. So it will be an honor and a privilege to basically try and do something like that in Poland. So the answer is absolutely yes. I think once the COVID situation improves, you will actually see us coming there and trying to do something on the ground in Poland as well. Because I think it's a great location. I think it's a great country. I think they're fantastic people. But I have only one condition, sir, since you're part of the government. So the 12 Indian boys who were in Poland last year training in football, please help us qualify for a future World Cup. I know you've done extremely well in the qualification rounds this year. We've done very badly and we've not even qualified. We are nowhere near qualification. So only condition I have is we will set up shop there, but you will help us qualify for the World Cup.
Yeah, we'll see what we can do.
That's not a good answer. You have to help us.
Okay.
So,
thank you.
if there are any other questions, happy to take them at this point in time.
Swami, there is one question from Edita.
I will pick it up. I don't see the question on the channel.
She's raised her hand.
Oh, sure. Please, go ahead, ma'am. Ankita, can you unmute her if she's being muted?
I've just unmuted.
Okay. Ma'am, the floor is yours. I hear nothing. If the audio is not working, maybe you can use the chat box for the question, madam.
I think that left.
She left?
Yes.
Maybe she'll come back. We'll give her a minute. Maybe she had the same sound problem that others did. If there is no other question, I want to express my gratitude to every one of you for participating in the seminar. And I hope this marks the beginning of a beautiful relationship between our company and Poland and our two countries. And we really truly care about India. We care about Poland and India-Poland relationship. So I commit myself to doing whatever it takes to take the relationship to a new level. And I think when there are new opportunities like ESMA, if the two of us can actually work together to ensure that both of our countries benefit significantly, I think it's a win-win. And I think that's what we are trying to aim toward. We want to do a win-win situation for your country and our country. On that note, once again, thank you very, very much. Have a fantastic evening, and we'll be in touch. Bye-bye now.
Thank you.
Thank you.